تفضل سمو الأمير.
شكرا الله يحفظك.
شكرا لك. حياكم الله. باسمك اللهم الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، سيدنا ونبينا وقائدنا وقرة أعيننا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم آتنا الحكمة وفصل الخطاب. السلام عليكم.
ورحمة الله.
كيف الأجواء سمو الأمير؟ صحصحين و they're excited just like us. Today I'm truly privileged. To be honest, when I walk into that door, I saw a long queue. I felt happy, sorry, and appreciative as well for your your interest to hear of one of the youngest leaders that is leading one of the prominent, most prestigious organizations in Saudi Arabia, that it's at the forefront of the movement that's going on in Saudi Arabia. Misk is trying to create that pipeline of leadership, of leaders like you, to be at the forefront of that change, that movement under the Vision 2030. And for that to happen, we have to have such leaders, empowering leaders that empowers us and you, and dedicate and volunteer their time, their knowledge, their expertise, experience, and pass it on to the next generation to be ready for the challenges, opportunities ahead. We're going to talk about all of these things and much more. But before we do that, I would love from you and request from you to give the biggest round of applause for our guest, Prince Sultan.
شكرا لك.
Your Highness, thank you for being here. It's truly a pleasure interviewing you. I've met you before this session, and you gave me that energy, that excitement, that curiosity to have this session with you. I'm planning not to talk a lot, so I can allow you and allow the audience to hear from you. Your Highness, thank you for your time. Thank you for being here, and hope you speed recovery. سلامتك وما تشوف شر سمو الأمير.
الله يحفظك.
And thank you for being here.
طيب السلام عليكم ورحمة الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. It's always a pleasure and it's a privilege to be part of everything that Misk does. I also would like to apologize to all of you who had to miss His Excellency Adel Jubair speak to be here. So it's very underwhelming for me as well, who's obviously a great leader of Saudi Arabia and has been of the past. But it's truly remarkable to see everything that's been happening here. And so congratulations for all the success the foundation has had. But also more recently, congratulations for the success of this MGF forum.
Thank you so much, Your Highness. I'll start off by the curiosity I had, when I heard your answer to one of the questions when we had a session with you, if you remember, Your Highness, in Davos.
Yes.
Back this year. And my colleague Dalal asked you a question. The first very question, it sounded simple, but it's very deep, and it shows what a leader you are. She asked you, what's the definition of leadership? You heard that a lot, but you gave a very interesting answer that made me ask, like I had to ask him how did you formulate that definition? Where did it come from? And I would like to remind people what's the definition that you gave. You said something like, it's about creating the conditions to make others successful so we can achieve a common goal while having the right ecosystem to continue making them grow and become more successful. Like it's what leadership development is all about. Tell me, how did that definition come to you?
So thank you for reminding me. But I think it's true. There's obviously a lot of literature on what leadership is and what characteristics of good leaders are. But I think at the end of the day, it really boils down to making others succeed. And not just making them succeed. It's supporting them succeed beyond what they thought is achievable or even imaginable. And if that sounds familiar, it should, because that's the form of leadership that we've seen in this country under the leadership of His Majesty King Salman bin Abdulaziz and His Royal Highness the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman over the past 8 to 9 years, and it's been remarkable. And we're lucky to have not only an inspirational and transformational, but also a generational leader in His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, who has showed us the possibilities, and not in the sense of what could be, but rather in the sense of what should be. And I am proud to say that we, the Saudi people, have demonstrated that what seemed impossible 7 years ago for many is not only possible and reality today, but it's also doable. And we've been showing that every day since.
Yeah, you had a fascinating career journey, and yet more to come, inshallah. But can you walk us through how did your career journey, your leadership journey, shaped who Prince Sultan is all about now as a leader? Like, can you walk us through your leadership journey, your career journey, and how it shaped your leadership approach, your leadership style, who you are as a leader now?
So I think, like most people, when I first graduated from university, I looked for a good job. And I found that in Saudi Aramco. So I started my career as an petroleum engineer. And obviously Saudi Aramco is a phenomenal institution. But a great place to build the foundational knowledge, the skill set, but also the framework of how to get things done. And I was lucky to be supported throughout that journey and time in Aramco, but later on in my career, by all the great people that I got to work with, all the wonderful bosses, the peers. And at the end of the day, it is the people that you're exposed to, the experiences that they create, the way they help you succeed, that also shapes you. But more importantly, it is the mistakes and your own failures that you actually learn the most from.
You've talked about failures, and you brought this up also in previous sessions. You said something was also remarkable. You said, His Royal Highness said, not you never learn, but you always learn from your failures, not from your successes. So I would love to give something, a tool, a tactic that we can help the audience here to, like something that you do maybe, to reflect on what's the process that you go through to learn from your failure. You know, like when you go through a failure, it's very hard for you to basically gather your thoughts, reflect, build on these experiences to move on after this experience and become a better man or woman. So from your experience, how can we learn or maximize our learning and build and grow from our failures, our negative experiences, if I may put it this way?
Sure. So that's a really good question. I'm not sure I have a perfect answer. But what I would say is, I think the first condition is you have to be honest, and honest with yourself. Second is you actually have to listen to people. Third, you should always seek feedback. Finally, you have to have the humility and self-confidence to admit mistakes, and recognize that it's fine to fail once, twice, make your own mistakes, because as you've mentioned, that's the only way you grow and you learn.
Thank you, Your Highness. This is very, very valuable. I don't want to compliment you in front of everyone, although you deserve being complimented. But I've asked the team worked with you before and the team that works with you now. I tried to get to learn more about you and your leadership styles. They gave me multiple answers, and that makes sense. many people think that you should adopt one leadership style. You should be autocratic or democratic or laissez-faire or whatever the types of leadership that we learned from school or other places. But do you think, or what do you think is the right leadership style, or if they should adapt one leadership style at all? Or they should be more dynamic and adopt more different styles to different situations. What's your philosophy on that?
So, I don't believe there is one style, but I truly believe that the only way to lead is by example. And if you don't exemplify it, if you don't do what you say, if people don't notice it, you should not expect them nor ask of them to be the leaders that you want them to be.
This is very inspiring, Your Highness. Maybe some of you know, some of you don't know, but His Highness graduated from Stanford University. MashaAllah. They're saying MashaAllah, so I'm saying MashaAllah. Allah ينفع بعلمك, سموك. So, and many of the audience that we see in front of us and who are with us online, some of them are either they're pursuing their degree now, whatever it is, or they're planning to pursue a degree, whatever it is. So, how important it is to study at top schools? That's part of the question. The other part of the question is, since you studied at top school, how did this shape you as a leader?
So I think the biggest investment you can make is in yourselves. Now, does that mean that you will only get a good education if you go to a top school? Does that mean you're a better person? Does that mean you are more likely to succeed? Not necessarily. But I think what's particularly important is always to ensure that you're driven by something, that you challenge yourself, and you have the confidence and the ability to believe in yourself. And I think that means much more than anything. And so use Stanford, and I'll use something that's particular to Stanford, but the Bay Area, Silicon Valley. And what makes it quite unique is, and fresh, honestly, is they really care very little for all the brands or the things that you take pride in, right? And what's fresh about it is they truly care about what is it that you can do. And that's really powerful. And so I think the best thing I can say is invest in yourself. No matter how that comes, what form, where, and believe in your abilities and capabilities, and have the desire to succeed.
Yeah. I would love to engage the audience. I don't know if the mics are ready. If not, let's prepare for after this question. But before that, I would love to ask you a question, please, by raising your hand, let me know. Who did think, before I ask this question to His Highness, that getting into top school will definitely make you successful or play a major role of making you successful? Many people. And I know for a fact, I engage with youth every day, and I know that many of them that have that perception. So Your Highness, since top school doesn't grant you success, since you're a successful leader, from your point of view, from your experience, what's the secret sauce for success? How can we be successful?
So I think if we agree that success, or the definition of success, is a long-term thing, right? So you can't be successful for a week, then not be successful. Then it's much more about things that are obviously lasting. And you can't be successful absent, I think, basic values, right, such as integrity. You cannot achieve success on your own, right? You have to always surround yourself with people who are better than you. And finally, you always have to have the drive and desire to succeed. because very little in life happens in straight lines. In fact, I believe there's very little that exists in nature that is straight lines. And if I guarantee you one thing, the journey will not be in a straight line. You will have the ups and you will go through the downs. You will have to lift yourself up. And that only comes by the continuous and persistent desire and drive to actually succeed.
Thank you so much, Your Highness. His Highness always pushes us to engage audience, to engage you. He's here for you guys. He believes in you. So I would love to allow people, if you allow me, Your
please.
Highness, to ask questions every now and then. So I'm not dedicating a session, like a portion of time for you. Go ahead.
Question.
Okay, we have a question here. If you can pass the mic. And also, I asked my connections in LinkedIn to ask questions, so I'll pull up my phone and also read a couple of questions from social media. Who has the question? Abdulaziz, تفضل Abdulaziz.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Your Highness, it's nice to see a fellow petroleum engineer. So I have a question similar to that. Your Highness, mashallah, you moved from Saudi Aramco to the SIDF, you moved to the credit risk, you were involved in the Musha'at. How did you change your path? Is it something that you have to seek, or is it that you have to allow for opportunities? Thank you.
Did you get the question?
Yes, yes. So if you think it was planned, it was not. And it's fine. And I think I'll get to that, but I think it's you ask an important question. And I think the bigger picture of it is I can definitely give you a list of everything that I am certain I don't want to do. It's much more difficult to have an honest and clear answer of what is that one thing that you would love to do for the rest and every day of your life and would make you happy. And if you believe in that, then it's a journey.
Yeah.
And there are multiple paths to take that journey. I've tended to optimize in my journey, not by function. And although we're taught and we're brought up to think that way, we major in specific things and we expect to work then in particular industries, and we think I would like to do investing, or I would like to do operations, or I would like to work for a startup. And if you're lucky, you actually fall into that thing that you would like to do earlier on in your career versus later. And there are very few lucky people. If you're like most people, and I'm like most people, it's a trial and error process. And that brings us back to that journey. And so what makes for a more fulfilling journey? And for me, it has always been to select by the people that I get to work with versus the function or the role I do. And good people tend to do wonders. And the particular reason for that is if the people that you work with trust you or think highly of you, they're most likely going to give you the valuable work to do, the important work. And if you get to do the important work, wherever you are, first, it's more fulfilling, and so you feel a sense of accomplishment. Second, it opens more doors. And I think that brings for a fruitful journey. Personally, as I said, my journey was not planned. It was not always straight lines. I went through a period of my career, post-graduating, post-gaining my MBA from Stanford, where I could not find a job. That was not something that I did not want to do. And that's fine. It will not always seem clear. That level of uncertainty should be embraced, but never stop doubting yourself. And never second guess your abilities. And only good things will come to those who have a desire and drive to succeed.
This is a very good segue to my second question, and we'll take another question if you allow. Anyone would love to question on this side, and then we're going to this side, please. Can you hand the mic there, please? And until you get the mic, Your Highness, uncertainties is one of the challenges that every single leader faces, in whatever phases of their leadership are. So, as a leader, from your experience, how do you navigate, if you can give advices, maybe experience, maybe a story, I'll leave it to you, but how would you navigate those uncertainties and going forward, especially when you have a team, when you have a vision, and you have a lot of uncertainty, a lot of ambiguities. So how do you navigate through such situations?
So, Abdulrahman, I think, as I said, you embrace it. You recognize that the paths that you select, the decisions that you make, are by definition uncertain because the future is uncertain and there will be many things that are not predictable. And the way that you deal with it is you recognize that you'll be faced with uncertainty and you can't plan for particular events, but you can prepare for it. And you have to do that upfront. You have to trust in the people. You have to trust in the system. And you have to have the resilience to ensure that you can cope with whatever fortunate or unfortunate event that translates into reality and you have to deal with. And so you can't predict it, but you absolutely can prepare for it.
Thank you so much. We have a question here. Can you give him the mic again, please? The first row. Your name, please, and your question. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
My name is Hussein Hamoud. Thank you, Your Highness, for pitching your thoughts about the failure. As a Saudi serial entrepreneur, I have similar thoughts. So I'll just give a definition that I've realized through my entrepreneurial journey of failure, and I'm going to give you a quick question. Failure is passing your goals without achieving it. And through that, you have to pay for the extra mile to get back to the goal and hit it. So as a leader today, do you think paying much of extra mile fees is worthwhile, or we have to change our plans time to time to realize that the goals that we aim are not achievable?
So I think that's a very good question.
That's good.
And whether it's in that particular dimension or even any decision that you're making, right? I think what life in general will give you and will present you with is always new facts. Right? And whenever you're making a decision or rethinking your goals or strategies or how do you want to get somewhere, you should always realize that you will have new information with time. And I think if you fail to consider new information that's presented to you and reassess your hypothesis or thinking is just bad judgment. And so, absolutely yes, when life will present you with new information, markets will present you with new information every day, and you should always rethink your goals, the ways that you go about achieving your objectives, or in some instances, reviewing things that just have not worked, because I think it's a natural progression of how we should make decisions.
Thank you. Good question. We have a question here and then there, because we haven't given the chance for the ladies to ask. But meanwhile, I would love to ask you a question, Your Highness. We've talked in your office before this session, preparing for this session, about the Vision 2030. I think everyone in the room wants to play a role. We are humbled, lucky. I don't know what to say. We're lucky to witness this era and being part of this vision under this leadership. We want to contribute, but just being part of it, I don't know if ever in the history of this mankind that a single country within this period of time, all segments of the society are being empowered and being given the chance to contribute and giving the opportunity to be empowered. What is it like? Like, give it, show me your perspective. What is it like as a young leader yourself? What is it like being part of this era? Not only that, but also leading very, very prestigious and very prominent organization and playing a role in it. You're contributing to it.
So absolutely, I think I associate myself with everything that you've said. But we're lucky, all of us, I think, to be part of such a transformational era. I think more importantly, what makes everything that's happening today in Saudi Arabia different and unique, and we've spoken about this myself, and it was a phenomenal discussion, by the way, with Inas as well. And I think she mentioned one thing that I believe is absolutely true, and she said, young people and the youth are tired of being told that they are the future. And I think what's happening in Saudi Arabia today and what makes it special and unique is under Vision 2030, we are being told that our time is not tomorrow, it is now. And it is our responsibility to take ownership of the present, to take action, to do all the great things that we want to do and build for this country, and it will be us that will shape the future. And that means that this is not only an important responsibility that we carry for this generation of Saudis, but also for future generations of Saudis. But it's on us. And the level of trust, belief, and empowerment that we've been given by the leadership of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is simply unmatched. And that is unique to Saudi Arabia. In the level of optimism, energy, and drive that we see here today, is not only promising, but honestly is a testament that that level of trust and belief has been placed fairly to this generation of Saudis who will accomplish great things. And I'm confident, بمشيئة الله and ذلك.
Ya Rab, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. So, you have a question? The mic with whom? Let's have a question from the audience. Here, please. And then you.
في الولد.
أبشر.
السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
شكرا سموك لوقتك. I have a complicated question. So, being a successful leader such as yourself, I'm personally a young Saudi female leader who looks up to you to learn from your challenges and journey. So, usually leadership comes with some challenging self-sabotage traits, such as being a high achiever, a perfectionist, and etc. How do we deal with that? I'm not going to say life-work balance, that does not exist. How do we deal with that in a healthy way, which doesn't lead us to get extremely pressured until reaching a burnout? What's the healthy balance in that?
Your name?
Shuruq Mufti.
Okay. Your Highness.
طيب شكرا شروق. I think that's an important question. But I actually have a very different definition of burnout. So I don't think people get burned out by working a lot. I think people get burned out by working a lot and feeling that they've achieved very little. And so I go back to the original definition of leadership. Your job as a leader is to create the conditions for others to succeed. And so there's no point if they keep failing at what they do. But the second reality is there are also priorities in life. And your health and well-being is most certainly at the top of that list. Your family as well is most certainly at the top of that list. And so you have to make time for all of that. And that's an active decision that's within all of us to make. Work will never end. There will always be more to do. And it's particularly important as a leader to recognize that even if you're successful in what you do, you will leave many things for others to do after you. And that's fine.
Thank you so much, Your Highness. Since I promised, also there is another one, Your Highness, you pointed out here also.
As the young gentleman.
Yes, على خشمي. I missed you, I'm sorry about that. Fine, خلاص, he reached, excuse me, you'll get your chance after this young man.
As Abdulrahman said before, everyone wants to have a huge role. Since when or how did you feel that you would being a leader choice or a leader role, it's a hard thing to choose since you have a lot of responsibility around it. Why did you choose it and when did you feel it?
Very good. Tough questions, young generation.
It's a very tough question.
Thank you for your question.
So,
another question.
Yeah.
and I want to give a thoughtful answer.
No, young generations are whole another level.
So I think here's the thing. You can aspire, you can obviously dream, and you should work hard to achieve your full potential, and if that means a career in leadership, then you have to obviously work hard for it, definitely. It comes obviously with its own challenges, like everything that you choose to do. There's nothing that's challenge-free. But it's also particularly important, I think, it's important to recognize challenges in everything, but it's really, really important not to be consumed by challenges.
True.
So recognize them, address them, but be consumed always by the opportunities that they present and the opportunities, I think, beyond. Personally, I don't think there is such a thing as really, really experienced leaders, right? I think it's something that you fall into. It's also something that, and you don't fall into naturally, right? So I'll speak about my personal experience. So as I've gone through different positions in my career, and the natural inclination, so I used to be an engineer, so I had bosses, then you become a supervisor, then you become a unit head or whatever that is, and the natural inclination, the first thing you do is you tend to do the things that you are good at. Then you realize that's no longer the job. And so it requires growing into. You will never be ready for that next position. And you have to realize that you will grow into it. And I continue to learn every day. And I'm proud to be part of a learning organization in SIDF, which is something that we embrace. But I have a coach today, and the organization knows that I have a coach. And that's fundamentally because we believe that we're not perfect as people. There's always something within us to improve, and we will make our own mistakes. I make mistakes every day. And the journey of continuing to invest in yourself and grow is never ending. Thank you for the complex question, and apologize for the complex answer.
What's your name? Fahad. Fahad, seeing you makes me feel comfortable about our future. You being here on your weekend, you could have been playing something else or doing something else. It shows who you are, and congratulations for your parents, wallah. Your question finally, and thank you for your patience.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Wadha, and
We are living like in a very historical period. I mean, this flow of changes and updates with this like short period of time, this is massive, like historically, it never happened. I would like to ask, how can we stop this flow and focus and decide what we should follow, the demands of the market and our desires? What makes you or what drives you? Thank you.
Okay, can you repeat the question? Just the last part of the question, please. And if you can raise your voice a little bit.
Yeah, I came here actually to get inspired because I feel like
You're in the right place.
Yeah,
with His Highness.
thank you. I feel lost because of the flow of the updates and waves in the market
Yes.
demands, and I have like a little, you know, confusing between my desires and the demands
Okay,
of
okay.
the market.
Okay,
And I would like to ask him, what drives you?
okay. So can I rephrase your question?
Sure,
If-
sure.
عشان نكون فاهم صح. So basically, you're excited, you're curious, you want to be out there, you want to contribute, you want to be successful, but there are a lot of noise, a lot of things happening. You have your intentions, your desires, yet a lot of things are going on. So you want some advices on how to navigate that, right? Okay, Your Highness.
So thank you for the question. Second aspect is, I think that's normal,
I
right?
agree.
And we obviously, everybody goes through it. The other perspective of it, the only advice I can personally give is to say, listen, it's a journey. Make sure that you're trying different things. Some of them will not work,
Yeah.
but you only need one thing to work. And so just keep at it.
Thank you for your answer, Your Highness. We'll get back to questions, I promise you, but I have other questions to ask, and we'll get back to you. This is your session. I want you to be engaged. Just be patient. Thank you so much. Your Highness, I sense that we have a lot of people with engineering interests in the room. So I just want to know how many people in the room are interested in engineering or pursuing engineering or works as an engineer. Oh, not that much. Okay. Abdullah, you. Okay, interesting. A lot of people in this sector or beyond perceive SIDF as an interesting organization to be part of. This is another tricky question, Your Highness. Like, what do you look into as a leader when you hire people at SIDF? And I encourage everyone to apply to SIDF if you're interested to be part of the team. He has an amazing, ambitious vision for SIDF. We need everyone to contribute to it. So what do you look into as a leader, Your Highness? What are the qualities, the competencies, the values that you look into in a person to be part of your team?
Yeah. So I think there are three things that are really important. One is integrity. The second is obviously capability or / intelligence. And the third, I think I've mentioned it a number of times here, which is drive and desire to succeed.
Yeah. Very sharp answer. Thank you so much. We have a question there or here. I'm not sure. You raised your hand. She raised your hand first, and then we're coming back to this session. Sarah and everyone. Okay. Your name with a brief question so we can allow more people to ask. Right here. The mic is next to you. Thank you so much.
My name is Lana Al-Ghazi.
Lana?
ايوه اسمي لانا الغازي. حابة أقول لك شكرا إنك دائما تجي الأشياء اللي تجمع فيها اليوث لأنك زي بسيطة أمل بالنسبة لنا يعني.
It's okay, Lana. We agree with you, actually. We do agree with you. Then we've never invited His Highness, and he said no. So we do agree with you. Let's start there.
أحضر event session. I go all the way from Jeddah to here just to hear this and be here.
We totally agree with
be
you.
inspired
It's
as
a
well.
privilege to have him with us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Your Highness, again
No, it's
for being here and for sharing
I
the
just want
knowledge
to say
to the
thank
next
you.
generation. تفضلي لانا, your
questions
question.
because you've already يعني answered all of my questions with your words. You gave me hope today as well to continue my journey in whatever I'm doing. يعني. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lana.
No, thank you, Lana, you for being here and obviously for making the trip and for remaining engaged, and for everyone, honestly, because يعني, at the end of the day, when you look at every aspect of the country's vision, no matter how you slice it, dice it, at the end of the day, it's about the people, it's about the young, it's about the youth, it's about the leads. And so you are what makes this work. You are the energy behind it, the way that you look at the future, no matter what mountains of challenges we have to climb. Just the sheer fact that we look at our future and we're optimistic about it and we're acting upon it today makes us really, really, really special and unique to Saudi Arabia in a very polarized world today. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Lana, for your question. We have around 7 minutes. Unfortunately, it passed like that. So I'm going to dedicate part of my time to you guys. We have a question here to Sarah. Mike, please. Thank you. And we can conclude with a question from my end, perhaps. If you make it quick, Sarah, we can cater more questions from the audience.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
So firstly, it's such an honor to be in your presence with Mr. Abdulrahman Altimani as well. We've heard your wonderful definition of leadership and how you chose to be a leader. But what's your definition of success?
A lot of tricky questions today. So your question is, what's the definition of success?
Yes.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay.
What's your definition of success, Your Highness?
Well, so I think when the time comes and you get to look back at your life and you ask yourself one question, and that is, did I have a happy life? And if my answer is yes, that will be ultimate success in life for me. And it's easier said than done, but it's all about, obviously, not the things that you take that matter at the end of the day, but rather what you give. It's about the experiences that you've gone through, but also the experiences that you've created for others. It's about the memories that others have left you with, and the memories that you've left others with. And so that, at the end of the day, is what truly, truly, truly matters.
Thank
This
you,
is
Your
very
Highness.
inspiring. This is very inspiring. Thank you for your question. That's a very, very good question. I had a verse, like, this is a very good segue to one of the questions that I had in mind. I wanted to ask you, Your Highness, is, mashallah, tabarakallah, you've accomplished a lot. And I know that there are a lot to accomplish in the future, inshallah. Allah ينفع بك, Samuel Amir. Since you've talked about what you want to leave behind, and you asked yourself if you're happy or not, to determine whether you are successful or like you had a successful life or not, what do you want to leave behind? What would be the legacy that you wish to leave behind?
يعني طبعا الذكر الطيب إن شاء الله.
إن شاء الله يا رب. يا رب.
But I think I would be enormously pleased if I am successful in even playing or contributing one small part in realizing the Saudi Arabia that we dream for, the Saudi Arabia that we work every day for, the potential that this country and its people hold, and making it not only a better place, a brighter future, and more possibilities for its people and for generations to come, no matter what small part we get or I get to participate in, that would be an honorable legacy and memory to leave.
I want to stop here just to say congratulations to all of you. Do you know why? Because we have such leaders leading us towards Vision 2030. Thank you.
Shukran, Abdulrahman. It's a pleasure. Shukran.
We have 3 minutes. Should I give it to them
Yeah,
or
please.
ask you questions?
No, please give it to them. There
Sahab
are
alayhi.
a few colleagues here
Sure.
that have been adamant.
Okay. You choose, Your Highness.
لا
Which
لا,
one?
I will not choose.
خلاص.
That's your problem.
3 minutes, it's very tricky. Go ahead. تفضلي.
Thanks for your valuable time.
تفضلي.
I came all the way from Medina to ask this question.
Wow.
Depending on my tiny experience, I've been working in so many fields, starting from educational field, then medical field, then commercial, industrial, and then the latest is Hajj.
MashaAllah عليك.
Thank you. So what's your advice? Do you advise me to focus on one track, or do you advise me to keep learning and exploring excessively and endlessly?
So I think first, congratulations on all your successes.
MashaAllah.
That's quite remarkable, and perhaps I would like to ask you for advice. But I think do what you feel is right for you, given obviously the various experiences that you've accumulated and your reality on the ground. But make sure you have a clear view of what success looks like for you personally.
Yeah.
And if that means doing all of the above, great. If that means focusing on certain things that have worked and worked really well and growing that, then there. But congratulations on everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry. If you make it we have 1 minute. They're going to hate me for it. We're going to pass the time. But please make it quick. One last question, and we'll conclude with you, Your Highness, with final words.
My question is, Your Royal Highness, you mentioned how mistakes teach you while successes don't. But what mistakes taught you that, and how do you overcome it? How do you overcome learning that the fact is mistakes teach more?
Yeah, so the fact that mistakes teach more is you remember them really, really well. And they leave scars. Yeah. And it's a natural thing, right? You see it with how children learn and grow as well. And so you learn from them and you grow from them because they're quite memorable. But I think that's the only thing I can add to the previous answer that I gave.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Highness. Any final words before I conclude?
No, so I am first grateful to have the opportunity to be at Misk. I think everything this phenomenal foundation does touches so many people. And so it's a privilege to be here.
It's a pleasure.
I am also tremendously grateful to everybody that showed up and is here. Especially that we had Adel Bear speak elsewhere. And I'm very grateful for that. And I hope that we had a joyful experience here. I've been most certainly touched by the audience, their questions, their curiosity, and their optimism about the future. And so thank you all.
Thank you so much, Your Highness. This one is not, okay, it's working. 2 days ago, Abdullah Mdayfer was sitting right here at this same chair, so I'm going to mimic him and say, انقلوا عن سمو الأمير, that you guys are not the future, you are the present that will create the future. Thank you so much. Thank you, Your Highness, for your time.
شكرا عبد الرحمن. It's a pleasure. شكرا. الله يحفظك.